Igniters, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good evening. How are you guys? You guys ready?
Yeah.
For some PR hacking? Come on. Come on. All right. Okay, so let's start. I want to start this evening with a very beautiful writing by John Ruskin. I was reading a book by John Ruskin, an English writer and a philosopher. He wrote a very wonderful thing. He says that what you think or what you know or what you believe is at the end of no consequence or very little consequence. And I was like kind of taken aback by that. Like what you know is of no consequence. And then he adds that the only consequence is what you do. And it took me some time to understand that. And I realized that as an entrepreneur, we all know that in just knowing about design, knowing about search engine optimization, knowing about sales or marketing is not going to get us anywhere unless we do something about it. So if you know about PR, we all know that if our product gets in a media coverage or on a TV, our life can change overnight. But just by knowing it is not going to help us. And what to do about it is the topic of the session of the evening. So I'll let Ben talk more about that. And let me do some housekeeping. I would like to thank our sponsors, who is Nefoscale. Nefoscale provides next generation infrastructure as a service, and they compete with Amazon Web Services. So if you are thinking about Amazon Web Services, they are local, they provide world-class service, and they have a very high performance. In fact, I had a lunch with Bruce Templeton, who is here, and he told me all about it. So if you have any interest in cloud infrastructure, you should definitely go to his booth and talk to him more about it. And also, I would like to thank Mrs. Moskovich Munchies, our own Susan, Stanford Igniter. Yay, where is she? Susan! So she's providing her award-winning munchies. So there's some munchies there on that corner. You guys should try it out. And with that, there will be, Cynthia is going to talk something about our venture, Workspace, which is hosting this event. And then we'll have some prizes at the end. And there will be a beer party also at the end. So be there till the end. Okay, so with that, to Cynthia.
Hey everyone, I'm Cynthia, and before we start the main event, I just want to take a minute to kind of introduce the team that's hosting this event, which is Workspace, Workspace of the Future. I'm one of the co-founders of Workspace, as is Raj, and together with Wendy in the back as well. And we actually, you might wonder, what is Workspace? What is a Workspace of the Future? And we went around the world and interviewed a bunch of people and asked them what they thought, and this is what they told us.
Now, it's a virtual workspace, yeah? A desktop software which connects a team together. Now, it's a software. It's to be used by all distributed teams throughout the world who are all working from different places to work together effectively.
It will be virtual, seamless, and let me forget about technology and just collaborate with my colleagues. It's like magic.
Well, in future, everybody's going to work from home because it's just a waste of time to, to go to your work by car for 2 hours or so. And I think you just simply have to work from everywhere you want and with any device you want. And that's the real thing. And actually, it's like you're just watching television and you just simply change the channel and boom, you see the status of your product. That's the future workspace, I imagine.
How will the workspace of the future help you and your team? Well, let me tell you that the workspace of the future is going to help you and your team because you and your team will be able to play frisbee all day long out on the college campus or wherever you may be. Yeah? Oh, it'll be great fun. You'll be able to go to the coffee shop. You'll be able to go to the gymnasium. No problem. problem, because the workspace will follow you wherever you go. Work will be so easy, you won't even call it work. It's going to be fantastic fun.
Keep in touch with all office activities when I am on the road.
I simply want to work for 2 hours or so and then be free and be just productive. And I want everything to be more about my team, myself, not about technology, you know.
Well, I think we all know the answer to this one, yeah? It will not be Microsoft Workspace. It won't be Microsoft Office. It's not going to be video collaboration. It's not going to be a web-based project somewhere. Oh no, it's not going to be any of that stuff. Friends, is going to be so much better, so much more out of mind, yeah? You cannot imagine what it's going to be like.
Or a bunch of applications that I have to spend effort to figure out and get used to.
It's not Skype. It's not anything Microsoft is doing. It's totally not SharePoint or Basecamp or anything like that. It's not a project of tracking system or, you know, Bugzilla, really.
That you go check out Workspace of the future.
V for workspace.
We is for workspace.
Let me pick my guitar. Workspace of the future. Team collaboration, constant communication, seamless file sharing, social interaction. Workspace of the future. No commute hours, work from anywhere. All on the same page, hide from anywhere. Workspace of the future. V is for workspace. Workspace of the future.
So we're really excited about this idea. What do you guys think about the videos? We're really excited about this idea, and we're hoping that Workspace will be able to help you and your distributor team work more effectively together. And if you're interested, check out our website at workspace.com. And with that, I would like to introduce our featured speaker today, Ben Kaplan, founder and CEO of PR Hacker. And I really want to thank Ben for coming out here today, taking the time to tell us how to get 200 media outlets in 21 countries to love your startup. Just one more thing, we had handouts at, when you signed in, and there's a lightning PR kind of part in there, and you can, if you fill in your information about your startup, Ben will kind of raffle some startups and give some free PR advice, and we'll all do some brainstorming together. So if you want to participate in that, just fill that in, and then there's a box in the front that you could enter that in there. So with that, please welcome Ben Kaplan.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's close this. Well, hello everyone. My name is Ben Kaplan. I am the founder and CEO of PR Hacker. And if loving media coverage for your startup is wrong, I don't want to be right. What we're going to do today is give you tips and tools and techniques and strategies to turn what might be an idea or a passion project or a small team that you're working with into something that can get global traction, can get millions of people around the world interested, can get the top media outlets in the world interested. And I want to give you some specific steps on how to do that today. So, how did I become a PR hacker? It's kind of an unusual story. Back when I was in college, or actually starting in high school, I needed a way to pay for college. So I applied for 36 different college scholarships. I won 24 of them and accumulated $90,000 in scholarship money. And I went to college practically for free. So I went to college and I was there and I started realizing, hey, like maybe I could write a book about this. You know, but I didn't know anything about the publishing industry. I didn't know anything about how books were done. So, you know, being like 19 years old, I called up the education editor of the New York Times. So I called her up and I said, hey, I want to write a column for you. A book seemed like a long ways away, so I want to write a column for you. And I pitched her over the phone. I got her on the phone, and I convinced her to run a column. And then my column I wrote on college scholarships ran on the front page of the education section of the New York Times. And I was like, wow, hundreds of people started contacting me about that. Okay, maybe there was something to this media thing. And so what ended up happening was I ended up writing, after that, I wrote a book. It was called How to Go to College Almost for Free. It looks like this, and at the time, I self-published this book, scraped up enough money to print up 5,000 copies. I tried approaching New York publishers. No one was interested. They didn't think there was a market really in this. And so I printed up 5,000 copies, and they were all delivered to my parents' garage. So my parents now are like, we kind of would like to park in our garage again, but they're parking outside. There's 5,000 books at my parents' house, and no one knows about my book. It's not carried in any bookstore. Oh no, what have I gotten myself into? So the only thing to do was really to try to, it's like, wow, that New York Times article got a lot of people interested. Maybe I need to do more things like that. So what I did was I convinced, I'm originally from Oregon, from Eugene, Oregon, lived in Portland, Oregon. Is anyone here from Portland? Be proud of that. Portland, PDX, go Ducks. So I was from Portland. I convinced Powell's, you know, it's kind of the famous bookstore in Portland, to let me do an author event. And so I said, well, to be a first-time, non-celebrity author, how many people do I have to have at my event for it to be a success? I said, if you can get 20 people at your event, you'll be a success. So in my mind, I'm thinking my mom, my dad, my cousin, okay? And then I said, well, how many books do I have? I want to be a successful author event. How many books do I have to sell? I said, 10 books. You can sell them. Again, my mom will buy 2, my dad will buy 1. So I go there, but you know, you have this fear of, well, what if you throw a party and no one comes, right? In like the back of your mind, you know, all your friends are going to come, but what if no one did? It'd be embarrassing, right? So I'm a little nervous. So I called up the local newspapers in Oregon. I called up TV. I called up radio. Sent out emails, newspapers, magazines, any media I could find. And to my amazement, I got on all these shows. So I went on these shows. I did these interviews. And I remember walking into that first bookstore event, just, you know, praying, let there be 20 people. And we walk in, and there's 400 people. It's standing room only. It set a record at the bookstore, a greater turnout than John Grisham and Deepak Chopra at the same bookstore. And we took orders, we didn't have enough books there, we took orders for 300 books that night. So after that, it was like, wow, okay, let's go to Seattle. Let's do all the media in Seattle. Let's do publicity, TV, radio, online, magazines, newspapers. The same thing happened. Let's go to the Bay Area. I came here, spoke out at a bookstore in Berkeley. Same thing happened. And then we just continued doing it. And so over the course of that first year, and this is sort of my first exposure to media and PR, I was fresh out of college. I was 22, 23 years old. And that first year, we sold 65,000 copies of the book, self-published, essentially out of my parents' garage, with 0 bookstore distribution. So the only way you could get the book was actually to either get it on like Amazon, or like Barnes & Noble, or you had to walk into a bookstore, know it by name, ask for it. They would order it for you, and if enough people did that, then they would start to carry it, and that's how we built up distribution for the book. And what actually happened is, I really learned from that, wow, PR and media is a great way to get traction for whatever your idea is, whatever your venture is, especially if you're unknown. That success helped me get, that we sold 65,000 copies, it helped me get on Oprah, it helped me get on Good Morning America. Publishers came calling, I ended up selling that book to HarperCollins, and it became the best-selling scholarship book in the world with 1 million readers worldwide. So, go ahead. Okay, thank you. So that is how I became a PR hacker. And since then, what I've learned by helping lots of startups do this, by doing this for my own startups, is that you have the power to create your own media traction. And this isn't just something for after you've worked on the product, after you have an idea, after you form your team. I'm like, no, this is something that starts from the beginning and can make all the difference in the investor funding you want. It can make all the difference in the user traction you need, and in this presentation I want to show why. So just a quick little thing about my background. I'm kind of an unusual person in PR. So I got my start really from my book, being a guest expert on shows like CNN, Fox News. I became a regular guest. I've been on those channels maybe 30 or 40 times, Oprah, things like that. And then actually I became a journalist after that. So I had an education column for the Oregonian called Scholars and Dollars, which we syndicated. I wrote articles for Time Magazine, US News World Report. So from that, I got pitched a ton of stories from businesses, from startups, from causes. And so I saw a lot of really horrible pitches. So I want to kind of shed some light on what not to do in pitching the media. After that, we became really good at being in front of the media, and I formed a company. And so we had clients. I was a spokesperson for companies like Dr. Pepper, US Bank, You Promise, if you've ever gotten the college rebates, even the state of New Mexico hired me to come do it and basically appear on camera on behalf of them, promoting with their offerings. And then we formed a boutique PR firm and represented some of the biggest brands in the world: Citibank, Discover Card, Sallie Mae, Oppenheimer Funds, a lot of financial services, educational companies. We represented UCLA, Texas A&M University, really big colleges. And so I've sort of done a lot of different facets of this, so I want to kind of give you insights from all the different perspectives today. What we have now is, and I should mention, let me introduce Cody. That's Cody Pittman. Can we all say, hey, Cody?
Hey, Cody!
Hey, say, what's up, Cody?
What's up?
Say, Cody, looking good.
Looking great.
Cody works with me at PR Hacker. He's our client director, and so we actually formed a startup specifically to have the next generation of tools and technologies for other startups, other small businesses, other new ventures to get max media and PR coverage. So that's what we do now. We sort of took our PR firm that represented big brands. We were in South America. We participated. We were the pitch trainers for Startup Chile. If you've ever heard of that program in South America, so we helped hundreds of startups with that, kind of caught the bug, and decided let's spin off a part of our company to just help startups. And that's what PR Hacker is. So, with that being said, let us talk about what is PR hacking. If you've never heard that term, that's okay. You know it now. I think, Cody, we invented this term, right? I think so. I remember like drinking a couple beers with you thinking, what are we going to call this thing? We came up with okay, so what is PR hacking? And let me give you some definitions of how I think you should approach PR and why most people don't do this. So I don't know if you can read all of this on there. I'll kind of explain it to you. PR hacking is an approach to PR that takes a lot of the other types of hacking that you do, where you're analytical, you use A/B testing, you're data-driven. You do all that probably for your startup, or you know you're supposed to do that, and then you come to PR and you're like, okay, it's this warm and fuzzy thing, and you know, I have a cousin who's dating, you know, a reporter at TechCrunch, and I'm hoping they're going to introduce us, and then we'll be super famous, and you know, it's like kind of like, okay, now PR is just warm and fuzzy. So what we did is we approached it a little differently. We say PR hacking applies data-driven analysis to media outreach. PR hacking uses technology and mass communication tools to accelerate media engagement. PR hacking is not a one-time launch project. It's an ongoing process with measurable ROI. So what we do in PR hacking, when I start throwing up terms there like A/B testing, iteration, continual improvement, what we do for PR is we don't just do one pitch to the media at a time. We'll write 8. I'll show you how you create story ideas and what story ideas are, but we'll write 8 different story ideas. We'll target small amounts of media for each one. We'll pitch it to a few dozen media outlets. Okay? We'll see the response rate. We'll see how many people are interested. How interested are they? We'll measure that. Then we'll find out the winners. Then we'll double down on those and make those even better and iterate those pitches better. And finally, we'll scale that to hundreds or thousands of media contacts. And we'll actually pitch all of those. Okay? So the idea is that make the numbers work in your favor. And too many times I hear people say, okay, you know, I'm going to start developing relationships with journalists, right? I'm going to, you know, I start by tweeting at them, and then I send an email, and then I, you know, give them a compliment, and then I invite them for a beer, then they're my best friend, best man at my wedding, and then I get great coverage. Okay? So you can do that. It's great to have relationships, but that takes a lot of time. right? It takes a lot of effort. And you usually can't get enough scale just from a few contacts. You need hundreds. So PR hacking leverages those numbers in your favor. And finally, PR hacking measures conversion and traction, not just branding or exposure. How many of you here who has a startup has ever been featured in the media in some fashion? How many here has been featured in the media? Okay, good. If you've been featured in the media, how many here were featured? Keep your hands up. Who was featured in the media? Okay, keep your hands up. Now, how many of you put your hands down if yes, you were featured in the media, but you didn't really get much business benefit of it? If you just you were there. Keep your hands up if you got like major business benefit from that. Okay, like a person, 2 people. Okay, so a lot of hands went down, right? So what PR hacking is it's not enough to get in even the Today Show, even San Francisco Chronicle, TechCrunch, Mashable. That's great, it can stroke your ego, but that's not the same as getting a meaningful mention that causes the type of traction that dramatically transforms your startup. And PR hacking is about measuring that. Measuring ROI, not just that now you get a little logo to put on your website because you were in something that really didn't generate any business for you. Okay? And I'm going to explain more specifics on how this works. So, the idea is this. PR hacking makes traditional PR scale better. It's all about efficiency and effectiveness. I'm going to talk later about why I love pitching PR through email. And we only pick up the phone when we absolutely have to. I'm going to talk about how you make that scale better. I'm going to talk about how you make social media scale with your email efforts. We don't want to do anything that causes us to have, a team like, a team of 20 interns, like doing manual labor. We want to do, what can we do to make this scale? So that's at the essence of PR hacking. Okay? So, before we go on, and I'm going to talk about 5 principles of PR hacking, just a couple other things. One, at the end of the presentation, if you have this form in front of you, he's already mentioned it, it's in the upper corner, fill it out right now. Basically, we're going to do this lightning pitch round. It's super popular whenever we do it. We're in 3 minutes, for anyone who wants, and you fill this out, put it in the box, or hand it to Cody over there. We will brainstorm PR ideas for your company live. You're going to come up here, explain your company in like 10 or 20 seconds, and we're just going to, as a group, come up with what are called great story ideas for you on the spot. So if you're interested in that, we'll do that. 2, at the end, on this sheet also is an evaluation. So please fill that out, drop it off. We use it to make our presentations better. And then finally, if you're interested in contacting me about more and what it is that we do, something we offer called the PR Hacker Toolbox, it's prhacker.com, Twitter, @PRHacking, Facebook.com/PRHacking. And actually, the Twitter account is pretty cool if you guys follow that, because we actually do alerts when there's opportunities in the media. We put that out on our Twitter saying, hey, we happen to know that right now CNN is looking for someone with expertise on job career market. Anyone out there, we'll put that out there. So it's kind of a good thing to monitor, and we'll also do, like, one of the things we'll talk about is how you get in front of the news. So like this week, there's a lot of things about like, how secure is your data? What is the NSA doing to like your data? How private is everything? So any company that deals with privacy issue security, if you're pitching now, you're almost too late. You have to be ahead of that news cycle, so we'll put it out there. Hey, now's the time to pitch. So follow us at @PRHacking on Twitter. Okay, so let's talk about the 5 Ps. 5 Ps of PR hacking. And they're on your sheet on the little side margin here. Planning, pitching, prepping, performing, and promoting. 5-step process for going through this, okay? So we're going to plan a campaign. We're going to go through the mechanics of a pitch. We're going to prep for an interview. We're going to perform in the interview. And ultimately, we're going to promote. Sound good? Yes? Okay. So, as we do this, I'm going to do what I call a case study of a PR hacker's guide to CNN. I'm going to talk about the first time I ever appeared on CNN, how we pitched the segment, what we did, and what were the results. So as we go through each of the steps, I'm going to show you in each step of the way how that actually impacted my first time on CNN, and then what was the ROI we returned from that. As we go through, we'll see that in action. Okay, so let's talk about planning. This is the first bullet point on your sheet. If you follow along, you'll see there's little blanks. I know it's kind of small because this was shrunk down, but where you can write in the fill in the blank answers. So I'll give you the answers as we go. First point, relate your product to timely news or generate the news yourself. Relate your product to timely news or generate the news yourself. Key principle here. Your company, no matter how brilliant you are, no matter how gifted you are, no matter how great your idea is, no matter how great your site is, your video, people don't really care. You might have a brilliant idea, but I'm just telling you right now, people in general don't care. It's super important to you. My startup's super important to me, but everyone else doesn't care. So the way you make them care is you relate something to something that's bigger than yourself that they care about in a way that you get to ride along with it. So this is the difference between what I call me first PR and you first PR. Me first PR is, I'm extremely important. My site has incredible features. I am a leader among men. I smile at old people. Whatever it is, right? It's me. It's I do this. I do that. I have these features. I'm important. That's what most people do when they hear PR. Oh, we're having a big 2.0, version 2.0 release. Let's send out a press release on that. Instead, you need to think about you first PR. You as the audience. You as the media. So if you have an amazing product that, makes it easier to get a job or something like that, it's not just about you have this feature or that feature. It's about maybe there's some amazing news about, current unemployment rates in maybe one of your verticals is tech, and how no one realizes that a certain type of tech, people are unemployed. Maybe you're going to do a survey on that and release the new survey on unemployment in tech, the hidden unemployment in the tech sector. Right? That's something that's bigger. That's something that the whole audience is like, really? There's people are unemployed? I thought all these engineers were getting snapped up. What's that? Now, if you create that news, you have a chance to ride along with it. Okay? What else happens? Right now, it's the beginning of summer. Right? Anyone here have a startup dealing with consumer or family or kids, parenting? Anyone have something like that? Okay, so big news is families are planning their summer trips. Where do I go? What do I do? How do I make it educational? Right? So it's not that you have this feature. It's that there's this big thing that everyone's doing. And if you have suggestions or tips for that, that's you first PR. You're creating a better story. So it's your job to either piggyback on timely news or create the news yourself. Let me ask you this. How many people here have ever done this? Please raise your hand. Specifically. How many people here? You've done this. Congratulations. Good for you. Okay. So, what is going on in this picture? Anyone? Kissing. Making out. They're making out, right? This is incredibly not newsworthy. Okay? Right? Someone is making out right now. Not in this room, I don't think. But someone somewhere in the Bay Area, I guarantee, is making out right now. We don't care, right? No big deal. What if I told you that this photo in 2011 was one of the most published photos in the world? That this ran in tens of thousands of media publications throughout the world in multiple languages because this is an extremely newsworthy photo. Let me explain why. Let's zoom out. This is the full photo. And I don't know if you recognize this photo now, but this is a couple making out in the 2011 Vancouver riots. Okay? This is a huge news event that's going on, that's covered throughout the world. Why in the heck would a couple be making out on the street? And that is a passionate couple. And they're living up the romance. Right? Why are they there in all of this? Begs the question. It's incredibly newsworthy. And so, the actual answer to that, what was that?
Yeah, drugs.
Drugs. Okay, it was not that. With the actual answer, and the media tried to track them down, who are these people? The actual answer was that the girl fell down in the street and was freaking out, and the boyfriend was trying to calm her down, and he knew this is one thing that just calms her down. And so he started kissing her, and an AP photographer took the picture. Okay? So that's the context behind it. So the reason I bring this up is because this is your product. Right there. Your product is a couple making out. Right? There's a ton of startups in Silicon Valley. There's a tons of startups throughout the world. Maybe you have a singularly unique and brilliant idea, but most likely not. Right? Most likely it's some variation on what someone else thought of too, and maybe you can execute better. and maybe you can, maybe it is unique, but it's not inherently newsworthy in most cases. Most of us have not discovered a cure for cancer and can announce that. So that's your product. No one cares. So your job, when you think of you first PR and you create the plan and the story, your job is to do this. Your job is to create strategic context around your product that all of a sudden makes it newsworthy. You create that news around it, and all of a sudden you can be the most newsworthy photo in the world. And the key is, you don't have to wait on luck for a photographer to capture this moment. You have the ability, every single person in this room has the ability to create that strategic context for yourself. And that's how you get major media coverage. Let's see what this means specifically. Like, yeah, it's a nice theory, Ben, okay, sounds kind of nice, but how does this actually work? This is Cluth, one of our PR hacker clients. And at PR Hacker, we actually have 2 tiers of clients. One, we have a PR hacker toolbox for startups that don't have much funding, where you can, basically a whole toolbox for doing this on your own, sells for under $500. And then we also have full service clients that we act more like a PR firm. We think we're better than a PR firm, but we do the work for them. And Cluth was an example of one of those. That runs in the thousands of dollars per month. So Cluth was basically an app for pet lovers. Kind of think of it as like Instagram for pet lovers. Okay, you can share cute photos of your dogs and cats doing things. You can say, oh, that one's like cute or tough or whatever. You can kind of rate other photos and find people who like what you do. So there's a lot of, does anyone here have a pet app or have a pet related thing, anything? You actually have it, okay. So this will be interesting to you. So there's a ton of, it's a very competitive space. There's a lot of kind of apps already out there. How are they going to get coverage? They're actually a group of entrepreneurs from Chile. So they weren't even based in the US. They didn't have access to a lot of media. They were super talented guys, young guys, 22, 23 years old. And they had this app. And they came to us and said, okay, how can we get media traction and turn this into something huge? So the key to that lied in a story idea. So a story idea is that thing that gives you that strategic context that makes it bigger. So this is our idea. They have an app about pets, but we need to connect it to something bigger than that. And we thought, what can be covered by tons of media outlets? Relationships, right? Relationships is a popular topic. And we thought about relationships, and we thought, okay, we need a way to connect pets to relationships. So we get it, if it's about relationships, we can get covered on the Today Show. We can get covered on morning shows throughout the US. Lots of kind of relationship columnists were covered. There's a ton of websites dealing with dating and sex and all of that. They'll cover this. So we came up with this. Which dog breed is most likely to score you a date? This was our story idea. This was the strategic context to make Cluth relevant. And what we thought was, okay, if we can put some numbers and statistics behind this, we looked around. I don't think anyone's ever done a study. When I thought of this, I had just seen the movie like Must Love Dogs. So I had like seen it was on like PBS again, so I was like, oh, I remembered that. I was like, well, what if, and they have in the movie, they have like a date where they meet up with their dogs, but like neither of them actually own the dog. They're both borrowing it from other people. And so write this down. We did a survey of 1,000 people to come up with, and we asked them to rank the dog breeds they preferred in a date. If they were going to meet someone at a dog park, and what those breeds said about the person. Okay? And so, girls, if you want to attract a guy, the best dog breed to have is a golden retriever. If you have a golden retriever, you're considered sweet and wife material. But if you have a Chihuahua, guys may think you're hot but dumb. And also possibly high maintenance. Okay? So that was the top breed. And guys, if you want to attract a girl, the best dog breed to have is actually a German Shepherd. I don't know if that surprises you. If you have a German Shepherd, you're considered strong and a good father figure. But if you have a pit bull, you're tough but slimy and sketchy. Okay? So, those are the best dog breeds. So we went out with this release, and we said, these are the best dog breeds. We surveyed it, we released statistical data on that, and we released it to, we first tested on a small number of media outlets. Remember that PR hacking process? We tried, by the way, we didn't rely on this. We tried this pitch against a straight product pitch for Cluth's features, right? This was off the charts. The product pitch did nothing. So then we doubled down on this. We tried lots of different things. This is just one story. This was just the winning one. Here's what's happened. 200 media outlets covered our story, reaching a global audience of more than 20 million people. This is on the Today Show. The Today Show covered it for 4 minutes with Kathy Lee Gifford and Hoda chatting back and forth like, oh, looks like I better get the golden retriever, ha ha ha. Right? They did the whole 4-minute banter segment, and the whole time they ran about, this was a scrolling ticket, ran Kloof, Kloof.com, the Kloof app. It would actually cost millions of dollars to be on the screen on the Today Show for 4 minutes straight. Okay. And actually, it was featured, the story, on all 3 of the top-rated national morning shows in the US. So, Good Morning America featured what they say about you. CBS This Morning, what your dog says about your sex life. Okay? Then, major US print and online media covered it. Time Magazine covered it. Huffington Post, that was the front page of their section, Dogs That May Help You Snag a Date. So it started spreading in magazines and newspapers. Popular women's portals. Dog breeds most likely to score your date. The Jezebel one, I won't even read it out loud. We blurred out a little part of it. I don't know if you can read that on the screen. I'll let it just stand. And here are the dogs that make people want to. I'm not going to read the rest of that. You can read it up there for you. And that one, Jezebel alone, I think, brought in like 20,000 unique visitors within the first hour it was posted. That particular. The app was also featured in some of the top newspapers in the UK and Canada. This is the Mail, Daily Mail is probably one of the top 2 newspapers in the UK. They ran the headline, "You own a Chihuahua, then you're dumb but hot." What your dog says about you to the opposite sex. The Globe and Mail is probably one of the top 2 newspapers in Canada. They ran something there as well. And then the story spread virally to 21 countries around the world, including China, Japan, Russia, Serbia, Hungary, and more. We actually designed the Chihuahua question specifically. We specifically asked people about Chihuahuas because we had Paris Hilton in mind. And we thought that she was still pretty big in Asia. And we thought they would run a photo of her. And in fact, they did. So a lot of this is like statistical analysis, different from like your academic thesis or a paper, right? This is, you're creating questions to get a result that then can help you get the traction you want. So we created it specifically with that in mind, knowing that someone's going to run something with Chihuahuas and Paris Hilton, and we thought we'd get it covered, and it worked. Okay? And finally, just to bring the case study full circle, Kloof went from 0 to 20,000 users virtually overnight, and they raised a whole investor round based off this traction, and then they were selected as one of Time's like top 10 New York startups to watch, and then they were one of 11 out of 1,700 applicants that Session selected for Techstars New York, all based on this. So, the point I want to make is that media, PR, it's about creating something bigger than yourself. And if you're not thinking about this now, and you want traction for your startup, you want people to have users, downloads, hits, it should be a part of your plan from day one. Which brings us to the final campaign stats. This is kind of the PR hacking approach. We pitched via email 3,014 media contacts. We had 253 interested. 167 we pitched directly, but 42 we actually syndicated, meaning we never pitched them. They covered the fact that someone else covered the story. We reached 21 countries, 209 media placements overall, total audience about 20 million. And brings us to PR hacker rule number 1, which is the first blank on your sheet, which is press releases don't work. Press releases don't work, but there's an asterisk. The asterisk is anyone here, is Bill Gates here? Tiger Woods, President Obama, are you here? Anyone, I guess Google or Coca-Cola, I mean maybe you work for Google, but is anyone, if you are those brands, a press release will work. Okay? You are afforded the luxury of practicing me first PR because you are established enough that if you say anything, it's newsworthy. For the rest of us, you can't do that. So instead of pitching press releases, create story ideas. And then, just like Kloof did, ride along with that story idea to support your goals. Does that make sense? If you've learned one thing that has been somewhat useful, say, yes, Ben. Yes. Say, aw, yeah. Say, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, good. We're in the right place. So, I'm not going to, one thing I want to say is, if you are interested in seeing all the results, we have a whole case study that we wrote where you can actually see what's the pitch we sent and all of the details on this. It's on your sheet, but get out your phone now. We try to find a way to make this easy without us typing in email addresses we can't read. We'll email it to you. Basically, if you want the complete case study notes on that, get out your phone now, send a text message to 1-678-249-3375. It's at the bottom of your sheet, this bottom corner. So send a text message to that. In your message, type two things. Type PR hacker as the keyword, then type a space, and then type your email address. So if your email address is bob49@gmail.com, you type PR hacker space bob49@gmail.com. Don't make the mistake that at least one person in every audience makes, which is they type PR hacker space your email address. Okay, do not do that. And basically, when that happens, we don't use your email for anything else other than getting you information. You will get an email back at your email address if you do this right. So if you have a smartphone, you can check it. And you'll have to click a blue button that says, I want to be on the list to get the case study. And when you click that, then we'll send it to you. Okay? So that's how that works. Come ask me if you have questions, or come see me or Cody I mean, I don't know if anyone here doesn't have like a smartphone to do this, but if you don't, we'll write it down. But that's an easy way to do it. Okay, has anyone done this yet, by the way? Did you get a response, an email back? Yes. Did you click the blue button? I did. Okay, excellent, it works. Great. Okay, let's move on to point number 2 on the 5 Ps. Let's talk about the pitch. How do you actually pitch the media? First point on the sheet is make it easy for media outlets to say yes. Your goal is to do the work for the producer. You have to think like the producer or the editor or the reporter. So if they get your pitch, they need a story to fill the space, they're overworked, their spouse is yelling at them on the phone, they got to pick up their kids from soccer practice, they're like, I need something. Wow, this looks good, this is ready, let's use that. Okay, your job is to make it easy. And I want to show you how you do that. Okay, so let's start talking about the CNN case study. And I don't know if you can, it's not great. Can you all see this in the back? Can you read the text at all or no? A little bit. Okay, I'll kind of explain. I want to talk about the first time I pitched CNN, and specifically, who should you pitch? This was their show, American Morning. That's the 2 anchors of the show. And to get on the show, we pitched 15 different CNN producers. Okay, a lot of times people say, oh, you just pitch one, pitch 2. In our opinion, obscurity is a bigger threat than maybe annoying them a little bit because you pitch too many people. We err on the side of more. Okay, we want to get noticed. Now, we pitched entirely through email, no phone calls. Anyone yell out, why would email, in my opinion, be a more effective strategy than phone calls? Anyone? Yeah.
Because you can keep the phone down and disconnect.
Okay, because you can keep the phone.
I mean, when you call someone they're not interested.
They're not interested, okay, or they might not pick up, or they might just reject you right away. Yeah, what else?
You can automate emails.
Okay, you can definitely automate emails. That's true. That's a great point. There's actually an additional point. Yeah. Okay, so they can see it. That's true. That's true. What else? There's something else specifically I'm thinking about email that makes it a little bit easier to spread. Yeah, in the back. They can decide in 2 seconds what they're interested in. Okay, there's 2 seconds, but I actually heard.
You can reach a lot of people in one shot.
You can reach a lot of people. Yes, I actually heard it in the back. Who said? Forwarding. Yes. I love email. For all of the reasons you mentioned are all good. You can automate it, it's bulk. We automate it. The way we work is we automate things, but we personalize it. So we always are merging in the show name, the person's name, little details that make it personal. We never make it seem like it's laid out or pretty. It looks like text mail, and it's sort of merged beautifully. But what I love is you can be forwarded. It can be forwarded. So what this means is you can pitch the wrong person, and that's okay. Because if you pitch the wrong person, they might forward it to the right person. But it's going to be harder if you do a phone call, right? And also, how many people, think of it, this entire industry, the media, they're working on deadline. If you're on a deadline for your startup, how many of you like to be called on the phone? So you can answer it and take that call and realize that you have someone on the other end pitching or selling you. When you're on a deadline for your startup, do you like a telemarketer getting you on the phone? Probably not, right? So it makes it a little more convenient for them. So we pitch through email. And we use personalized bulk email with mail merge show name and little details to make it look real personal. And actually, even before I go on, let me see the other thing we did. We not only pitched the producers, we pitched a person, 2 people you should never pitch. You're told you should never pitch. We pitched the 2 anchors, the hosts of the show. Now, you're not supposed to pitch them because they're not the ones booking guests. They're the $1 million talent that appears on the air, So why would we pitch them? Well, What do you think is more important? Or that would cause the booking person to notice more? An email from me that says, I'd like to be on your show. Or an email that's forwarded from the star of the show that says, this sounds interesting, maybe we should book him. Okay? So, we did that as well, and here's what worked. Okay? We pitched the two morning show hosts. We pitched them specifically at email at 4:35 in the morning. This is a morning show. They're going on the air at 5. Figured, hey, you pitch them at 4:35, they're probably like waiting to go on the air, sitting in front of their computer, checking their email, and no one else is pitching them at that time. Right? So we can pop up. I pitched John Roberts, was one of the two people I pitched. We sent it out at 4:35. I received a response at 4:37. 2 minutes later from the anchor show. This is what he wrote. He wrote 2 sentences. Let's do it, forwarding to my producers. 20 minutes later, we had an email from the booking person of CNN saying, John wants to have you on. Are you free on these days? And in fact, we actually didn't even, John didn't even do the interview. He was actually, just the way it worked out, he couldn't do that interview. So his partner ended up doing it. I think, is it Kieran Chetri? I can't remember her name. I think it's like Kieran Chetri. And that's the interview of me on there. There was a hand in the back. Was there a question? No? Okay. Yeah.
You did it at 4 in the morning. Is there a specific reason you did it that early?
Yeah, the reason I did it that early at 4 in the morning was because this is a morning show. This is the host, and I thought we had the best chance at that time to pop up when he's looking at his email. And actually, what happened is after that, I've appeared on CNN 30 or 40 times. Whenever I need to get a response back, I would send it. John actually changed channels, but I would send it to the person I wanted for that morning show at that time. And like maybe the first 10 times I was on, I would send it to John directly, and he would route it to the right person for me. And I'd always send it at like 4:30 in the morning, because he was always in front of his email. And he's like the fastest responder ever. Okay, yeah, question? Okay, question was, how do you get the emails for all of these people? Well, 2 things. First of all, a lot of times, the media outlets themselves actually kind of publish these, and they're trying to make them super accessible, so there's more and more people do that. But actually, this is what we do at PR Hacker, and why we think that's our value proposition. Where basically, what we've done is, I've been doing PR for 15 years. We've built up huge databases of hundreds of thousands of media contacts, and part of our PR Hacker toolbox, which is the do-it-yourself product for startups, is we do a custom curated media list. So we interview you, and based on all the different story ideas that could be used, we give you an Excel spreadsheet with hundreds and hundreds or thousands of contacts that has email, their LinkedIn address, their Twitter, their Facebook, their phone number. We have 20 different data fields that you get as part of that. So that's kind of part of our product, but you can also gather this on your own. What has been typically hard, and this is like kind of, if all of you think of what's your unique value proposition as a startup, typically there's been some really big media database companies that charge PR firms, usually for one seat, like around like $7,000 to $10,000 a year to access their database. And so what we're trying to do is sort of take what we've done and do it for more of a startup-focused market. It works great for Kickstarter, Indiegogo campaigns, stuff like that. So that's kind of what we do. Yeah?
So that database that you mentioned, is that part of your $500 package or part of your premium package?
Yeah, it's part of the under $500 package, which is why we've kind of brought it down. So I don't want to take too much time on that and come ask me questions, because that's not what the presentation is about. But what that is basically the curated media list, A/B tested pitch templates, so how to pitch them, and then kind of the tutorials and worksheets that you can do this on your own. That's what that sub $500 package is. Okay? So, brings us to first PR Hacker rule number 2. Leverage the PR numbers game in your favor. What this means is, it's not enough to pitch 10 or 20. You want to be pitching hundreds of these contacts, and there's a lot of power in leveraging the numbers game. I mean, here's a quick little story. I knew a guy in high school named Froggy, and Froggy, he always dated the most amazing girls in school. This was so frustrating to me. I was like, how does this kid do it? So I watched him and I studied him. And I finally figured out what it was. This was it. So guys, jot this down. Froggy would ask out every girl in school. And by the sheer law of numbers, the sheer law of averages, a lot would say no, but some would say yes. And probably, you imagine if you ask out hundreds of girls, you get better at it over time, probably. Like women, correct me if I'm wrong, you generally don't like it when a guy makes a finger gun and goes, "Hey, how you doing?" Right? So Froggy got better at it by asking out. And the same thing is true of PR. As you do more of these story ideas, as you do pitches, as you get feedback, as you play the numbers game, you get better at it. And this is not rocket science. This is not like the big New York PR firms have all the special relationships and you have to pay them $20,000 a month retainer to get results. No, you can do this. Okay? Let's talk about one more quick case study. Anyone here want to do a crowdfunding campaign? Okay, a few people. And this is a case study that shows about PR for crowdfunding. This is another one of our clients, Force. This is the world's first smart bag. This is the story idea we did. Basically, it's a bag that you can put your devices in and will charge your bag, and it was a Kickstarter campaign. So, not charge your bag, charge your devices inside the bag, and it can convert and it can turn into like a shoulder bag to a backpack to a satchel. So it's just like totally flexible, convertible bag. It was a Kickstarter campaign and kind of a challenging one for the price point. This bag was selling on Kickstarter for basically around $300 and up, which is pretty high if you've ever researched crowdfunding. Pretty high price point for something that you want as an impulse buy. So they came to us. They're based in the Netherlands. We do a lot of work all over the world, and they said, can you help us create a story idea that does that? And so we came up with this idea of the world's first smart bag. Basically, the idea is that a great way you can create a story idea is do a trend. Okay, and we tried to make the trend being you have lots of stuff in your life that's smart. Your phone, your computer, other devices, and you have a ton of stuff that's dumb. Right? Your bag is one of those dumb things. So what can we do now? The trend is making your dumb things smart. And this is the world's first smart bag. Okay? So we did that pitch. We leveraged the numbers game and pitched even thousands of media contacts. So we did things like got it on Ask Men. We did a lot of stuff on the world's first smart bag for that, the man on the go who's like the kind of like the confident guy who kind of wants to be like James Bond or like the Dos Equis most interesting man in the world, and kind of positioned it as like that, as like the world's first smart bag for the man who's truly smart. Right? We did a lot of stuff like that. Ask Men, that's probably actually, so one point for crowdfunding campaigns, you need to focus a lot on online media because you need online media that people can click over, right? It removes one more barrier. So that one is probably, I think, the most trafficked men's site in the US. Got it on there, brought over. I think that one site alone raised about, $17,000 in sales on Kickstarter from that one placement. Okay? Wired magazine. We pitched Wired. This is a great example because we got it in Wired, the magazine, but Wired has all these other media channels. They have blogs, they have Twitter accounts, they have all this. So once we got it in there, we pitched all the other places to say, hey, the bag's featured in your magazine. Can you guys cover it also? We got coverage there. MSN covered it. TechCrunch, Meet Force, a smart bag that charges your gadgets and provides power management via Bluetooth. This is a very, has anyone here ever heard of Design Milk? It's a very popular design site. That focused on the design aspects of it. And these were the Kickstarter results. 800 backers on a project that's kind of expensive, raised about $200,000, and the media push was all centered around like the first week, is what we were hired to do. And so we raised over $120,000 in the first 5 days of the campaign. And what that does is that shows you're viable, because now all of a sudden other media will cover it because you look like you're going to reach your goal. And it pushed it, in the first day, we pushed it to the top of all of the internal lists on Kickstarter. So like the most popular lists, trending. And we brought in, I think over 30% of the total was from getting it on those lists, and it was internal Kickstarter traffic by doing that. Okay? So, and that's a great example, and you can achieve with media many more times that if you didn't have a product actually that was quite so expensive. I mean, there's a significant barrier on that. But whatever your product is, media is a huge part of any kind of crowdfunding campaign. Okay? Brings us to rule number 3. You must measure the gatekeeper response rate. We measure conversion rates. We send out a pitch and we keep track of how many people responded with some kind of interest, even if the media outlet doesn't book it. And so we're pitching reporters, producers, editors, journalists, anchors, hosts, and we're keeping track. And as we determine, we have different story ideas. So we did the world's first smart bag for Force, but we also had a pitch on pet peeves of the mobile professional. We did a survey, and we we did something like, what's the thing that's most annoying to you? And it's like, oh, having one of the things we got with the result is having to carry around all these chargers and everything, right? So that sort of led into our solution. But that actually didn't pull as well as the world's first smart bag, right? So we tested it. That was a reasonable pitch. I actually thought it was going to work better. But then we doubled down on the smart bag because we measured the conversion rate, we measured what they told us, and the media always tells you what they're interested in. So it's like having the ultimate answers to the test. If you were in college, they're going to tell you the answer. They're either interested or not. When you try a bunch of stuff and they tell you what they're interested in, you just do more of that. And that's how you know you're always right. 3, prep. Point is, help produce content and create strong traction steps. This is how you get from the media hit to new users, new downloads, sales on your website. This is how you do it with what I call traction steps. A traction step is something that causes a person in the audience watching to then follow up with you in some way. The idea is that it's not good enough just to get exposure. How do you create a next step for them? Right? Now, you all might do this on your landing pages, like, download our ebook by giving us your email. And then, but how do you do it when you don't control the media element? So that's what this step is all about. Let's look at the CNN. I don't know if you can see this in the back. This is when I was on CNN. For those of you who can read this, do you see any traction steps in that screen right there? This is me on CNN. And by the way, I didn't have to travel all the way to New York. This is me from a TV studio in Portland. That's a photo behind me. I'm looking into a camera like this one, just like nodding, and I have an earpiece in. I can't see the host, so I'm just like interacting with the camera, doing that. This is just in a TV studio. It's a room about there's about a 10 by 10 room. That's where this is happening. Okay? So you don't have to book the whole trip to New York and spend the thousands of dollars. It helps if you're going to do that, but you can do this via satellite. So, who sees a traction step in here? Yeah, what do you see?
It's the click there, the invitation to college financial aid tips from Ben.
Okay, so that's one of them. That's a great one. That's the harder one to find. This is right here. Get college financial aid tips from Ben. If you see that scroll, what it actually is they actually say, on the CNN blog. What actually happened is after I was booked on the show, I said, I noticed you have a blog. Would you like me to write something for your blog? I said, sure, that's great. Then we can tease it on the show, and people who want more information can come read it in the blog. Okay? So, let me ask you this. Those of you who know anything about search engine optimization. If I have a blog on the CNN's website that then links back to my website on the keyword scholarships, which is what this segment was about, would that give me some good Google juice for Google rankings? Probably. CNN's like a top 100 website in the world, linking to you for scholarships, right? So that is a powerful traction step. Over 10,000 people came to our site through that link, through the blog. We simply asked for it, and it's being teased.